Congratulations on your first book, Terry.
Thank you, Angeli. It's quite a thrill having a book. This is my first.
So, Here, Now, and One. Tell us, what is it about?
Here, Now, and One. That pretty much is everything. We've all heard a lot about presence and about being here now. These are very important things to know and do and be. And one is the essential one of everything. It's the thing to which all of the great religions point. All of historical traditions point to an underlying unity. In Islam, we say, La ilaha illallah, there is no God but the God. The Jews say, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And it's common among all traditions to point to this one underlying unity.
So what inspired you to write this book, and why now?
Well, I'm not sure inspired is the right word, but at some point I realized that I had spent a lot of time corresponding with and writing about a lot of these topics, and it suddenly crystallized in the form of a book, mostly at the encouragement of my friends who thought maybe this would be of help to other people, and I hope it will be.
And why now?
Well, again, it crystallized now, and it seems to be a moment in which these questions are being asked, and I wanted to be available to answer those questions to the best degree I can.
So, according to you, who is the ideal audience for this book?
Essential question, who is the target audience? My book is intended for anyone who is seriously interested in transforming themselves spiritually, in the interior life, in spiritual process and method, and those who have a tradition or a method or a process, and those who don't. But the one thing I think that is common among all of the target readers is that they have a serious interest in knowing themselves and knowing the real.
This makes me curious to ask, where did your spiritual journey begin and when?
I'm not sure I can tell you when my spiritual journey began, really, but if I were to have to pick a moment, it would be in high school, and it was in an 11th grade grammar exercise of all places. And I remember the incident as clearly as if it were yesterday, because the teacher had written a sentence on the board, and the exercise was to punctuate the sentence correctly. And when punctuated correctly, the sentence read, that is, that is not, is not. And I remember staring at that sentence and thinking, that's the whole thing, that's it. And I went back after school to look at the board and stare at that sentence. And then, of course, that sent me into a long and winding journey to try to find out what I could learn and what reality really is.
This is so wonderful, because quite often I hear spiritual masters or spiritual leaders having a moment of awakening or questioning what this life is about when they have climbed on top of a mountain like Kilimanjaro or dived into the ocean. But in your case, it is such a simple event that led to your journey.
Well, it's difficult to characterize those experiences because they're different from person to person. For many people, spiritual awakening is like fireworks. Suddenly the sky is open and there are fireworks. And for other people, it's like suddenly saying, oh yeah, that's right. And any of the degrees in between.
So when did you first realize that you wanted to be a writer?
I'm not sure I ever realized I wanted to be a writer. I have a very long and very affectionate relationship with the English language, which is the only language I know. But I've studied English, and I've studied its etymology and philology, and I love the English language, which is broad and deep and wonderful. And at some point, my desire to express myself or express the things that are found in this book met my love of language, and then I became a writer. I'm not sure I can say that I ever said, I'm going to be a writer. But as I said before, these things sort of crystallized.
Much of your substance in this book is situated within your experience of Sufism. Is there an expectation on the audience to know something about Sufism or have heard the term Sufism before?
Well, I don't think that's required. I think it would be a big help if those readers had some knowledge of Sufism, but I don't think it's required, and that's primarily because the things one finds in Sufism, or at least the things that are methodological or deal with one's interior life and transforming oneself, are universal and applied everywhere, and one finds them everywhere. My background is Sufism, yes, but I think what I've been able to express in the book, I hope, will be available to people across the economy of traditions.
What are the key takeaways that you would say the audience can benefit from in this book?
The key takeaway is take responsibility for your own interior life, for your own place in the world. Take your soul in your hands and try to do what you can to understand, to know reality, to know yourself, and to know what is.
What lessons, if any, have you learned in the process of getting this book out there and in your hands?
I've learned that producing a book is a very complicated process, which I could not have done without the help of experienced and competent helpers who get as much credit as I do for this, because I did the words and the language, but making it into a book, turning those words into paper and ink, that was something I didn't know anything about.
And how does it feel to have your first book published?
In many ways, it feels very strange. I've never had this experience before, and I'm getting to know the experience, and that has provided a lot of very useful insight. So just as an exercise of self-knowledge, I'd recommend writing a book.
Will there be many books from you?
God willing, there will be another book, maybe two. We'll see.
Are there any mediums other than the books where you share advice on spiritual or non-spiritual topics?
Yes, there are two other places. One is our website, Here Now One, and the other is a YouTube channel called Terry More Awake. Both of those are other sources for the same material. Although the YouTube channel, Terry More Awake, I tried to deal with a number of other life conditions and life hacks, tips and tricks for dealing with oneself and the world that are not principally spiritual, but maybe helpful to those spiritual travelers too.
Well, this is a great achievement, Terry, and I'm pleased to be here sharing this with you.
Well, thank you so much. It's a strange experience, but a wonderful one to be here, and I thank you for your interest, really.